Many of us have been there at the airport moving through security screening when we realize we're carrying something that's not approved for onboard travel. Well, when you travel Daytona Beach International Airport, that scenario is no problem at all. Hello and welcome to Volusia Magazine. I'm Amber Osman. With today's edition, we'll discuss DBIA's helpful mailback program, just a little effort to make your travel experience easier. Today's show also will feature Solutions for Your Life with David Griffiths, Volusia County Extension Director. Then reporter Joanne Magley brings us a story about the importance of buying food locally in this week's Volusia Business Beat. And last, we'll head into the studio with Community Information Director Dave Byron and his guest, Mark Swanson of Volusia County Beach Patrol, for some safety tips before the Labor Day weekend. Those segments, news, and more coming right up on Volusia Magazine. I hope you stay tuned. Volusia County's Mosquito Control Division has a new weapon to fight mosquitoes. A new single-engine helicopter was delivered recently by the manufacturer MD Helicopters of Mesa, Arizona. This is the third helicopter in the county's fleet and will expand the division's ability to inspect and treat the region's wet and dry lands not easily serviceable by trucks and other ground methods, according to Jim McNelly, Volusia County's Mosquito Control Director.
It's more efficient in that, yes, we can add more material. It can carry more material, whether it's a larvicide or adulticide, and that keeps us out there doing more work and not coming back in and fueling up as much as it would have in the past. So the great thing about this ship is that it does not have a tail rotor as our older ships do, and most helicopters do. Getting rid of that tail rotor really enhances the safety of this ship, as well as other things, including the efficiency of the operations. So we can actually carry more. The other great thing is that we do a lot of marsh inspections, and the salt marsh now has a lot of vegetation, shrubs, bushes that have grown up on the salt marsh. And we wouldn't want that tail rotor striking those bushes or shrubs on the older ships. That would hurt not just the tail rotor, but other mechanisms, other equipment in the helicopter. So getting rid of that tail rotor is huge for us. It's a huge boost in safety, not just for the absence of bird strikes and bush strikes, but for people working in and around the helicopter.
The dynamic yellow paint scheme of the new helicopter and high contrast main rotor blades deliver increased visibility when flying through areas of dense brush and low light. The chopper features a system for anti-torque and directional control for increased safety and decreased noise, making it an option for operation in confined and densely populated areas. For more information, you can log on to volusia.org and select Mosquito Control. Volusia County residents can think globally and act locally during the International Coastal Cleanup and Halifax Indian River Cleanup, set for 8 to 10:30 a.m. Saturday, September 19th. The county's Environmental Management Division is looking for volunteers to remove trash from beaches, rivers, and parks. Volunteers can register online at volusia.org/cleanup through Friday, September 4th. Last year, more than 560,000 volunteers in 87 countries collected more than 16 million pounds of ocean-bound garbage during the International Coastal Cleanup, which is sponsored by the Ocean Conservancy. Volusia County combines the coastal cleanup with the Halifax Indian River cleanup to enhance the environmental impact. Last year, more than 1,200 Volusia County volunteers collected more than 7,300 pounds of trash during the cleanups. According to Becky O'Keefe, the county's cleanup coordinator, trash in waterways is more than just an eyesore.
Trash is one of the most widespread pollution problems threatening our oceans and waterways worldwide, yet it's entirely preventable. Marine debris is not only an eyesore, it threatens marine wildlife and ecosystems. It undermines tourism and economic activity, potentially harming food supply and human health. When we trash our oceans, we trash our life support system. The trash that we see is only the tip of the iceberg. There's trash lying unseen beneath the surface and in the open water. Volusia County residents can act locally by stopping this trash at its source.
Participants are asked to bring garden gloves, drinking water, and buckets or used plastic shopping bags. They should wear a hat, sunscreen, comfortable clothing, and outdoor footwear. 20 official cleanup sites are designated from Ormond by the Sea to Oak Hill, but large groups of volunteers can arrange for a special cleanup location. Some river locations have boat launches where participants can bring their kayaks, paddleboards, canoes, or motorboats to access hard-to-reach coastlines. Visit volusia.org/cleanup to view all Volusia County locations and cleanup event details. Flying Daytona Beach International Airport is just plain easy, and it also has a unique mail-back program to help passengers if their valuables are flagged by security screeners. When Daytona Beach International Airport security checkpoint screeners request passengers surrender items that cannot be taken on board the aircraft, instead of parting with those items forever, passengers are given the option of placing the prohibited object in an envelope, addressing it, and dropping it into a collection box.
We have a very convenient security check-in station. The most modern equipment that the TSA has out there is available in our airport. We can get you through your security check-in easily, comfortably, in record time. If you have something that has to be surrendered to the TSA, we actually have a mailback system where we will send whatever the object is back to your home address at no cost to you. So we provide that.
The airport also has a complimentary business center that travelers can use, which is supported by the county's Economic Development Division. Daytona Beach International Airport also has a conference room for on-site business meetings. The 3,000 square foot Volusia room is on the second level of the main terminal, and it features a 1,300 square foot pre-function area that's ideal for greeting arrivals and for socializing. The south end is enclosed by floor-to-ceiling windows, providing a stunning view of the airfield. For more information, you can visit flydaytonafirst.com and click on Business Passengers. Imagine preparing a home-cooked meal using all locally produced ingredients. Farm to table is not a new concept, but as Joanne Magley explains, some local farmers and restaurateurs are trying to raise awareness of the importance of buying food locally in this week's Volusia Business Beat.
Dozens of people recently dined on a Farm Fresh lunch during a farm-to-table event presented by the DeLand Area Chamber of Commerce and Orange City Alliance. The luncheon included a panel of 4 speakers: Steve Crump, president of Vo LaSalle Farms, Paul Thomason of the Barefoot Farmer, David Griffiths, director of the University of Florida Volusia County Extension, and Harry Pulapaka, executive chef and co-owner of Crest Restaurant in downtown DeLand.
I'm from India, Mumbai, India, and when we shopped for the family, we always walked to our local markets and got our produce, and it was my job as a kid to do some of that. So farm to table for me is something that I've always grown up with. It's not fancy, it's not a cliche for me, it's not a buzzword, it's how I do things.
When Chef began the process of opening Crest 7 years ago, he went straight to the local farmers.
Of course, you need ingredients to create a menu, and then for me, the only way that made sense is to know where the ingredients came from, to know the farmers, to know the distributors, to know the fishermen, and then reach out to them and say, hey, I have a restaurant that I'm opening, what can you give me?
Paul Thomason with the Barefoot Farmer says the quality of food is better when it doesn't have to travel so far to get to your plate.
Most food, by the time it gets to you here in Florida, because 50% of our produce comes out of California and the Central Americas and Southwest, it's on average about 2 weeks old, and it's traveled on average about 1,800 miles. So when you can get produce that's fresh, that's been picked, the day before, 2 days before, not only are you getting better nutrition, but you're getting better quality. It's more nutritious, has better flavor. And that's the way that people always used to do. Before we were able to ship produce across the country, people ate locally.
Thomason adds that sometimes consumers just need to think outside the box of their normal dinner menu.
Encouraging people, especially like in the summer times and stuff, instead of going out and buying lettuce at the grocery store, eat a cucumber salad or eat squash. You know, don't eat the things that you can't buy locally.
And eating locally helps prove the local economy. Sustainable farms support local economies by providing jobs for members of the community and purchasing supplies from local businesses. A University of Minnesota study showed that small farms with gross incomes of $100,000 or less made almost 95% of farm-related expenditures within their local communities. Volusia Farm supplies food for 3 restaurants in DeLand, and the farm sells directly to consumers as well.
It's a big help to us because we can sell it at a retail price without having to go through a wholesaler, and we can make more money. We sell smaller units, which means we don't have to grow as much or harvest as much or store as much. And we really enjoy people. So we like talking to people, we like to see the children come out, we like to show them what we do, and that makes it fun for us.
Many of the farms team up with local restaurants to offer farm-to-table dinner events right at the farm.
It's a nice fine dining experience. It involves like a farm tour where you take people around, you kind of give them a little history of the farm and an idea of just, you know, you're kind of pushing the local food movement at the same time, explain to them, you know, how it all works, and just in the importance of buying locally, not only for the economy, but just for health reasons, and just for, you know, just continue to support agriculture in this area.
For the Business Beat, I'm Joanne Madley.
David Griffiths, UF-IFAS Volusia County Extension Director, discusses how to identify the Brazilian pepper plant. It's an invasive plant here in Florida. Mr. Griffiths' presentation is part of the Solutions for Your Life series on Volusia Magazine.
Hello, welcome to Solutions for Your Life. My name is David Griffiths. I'm the County Extension Director for University of Florida IFAS Volusia County Extension. Today we'd like to show you a little bit about 2 plants that we find along the coast. One of them we may also find inland in parts of Volusia County. We'll show you the difference between a native mangrove tree and an exotic invasive Brazilian pepper tree. We're going to show you the native plant. In Volusia County we have 3 different types of mangroves. We have the red, the black, and the white. Here we see a nice, beautiful white mangrove, native plant, great tree found along our coastal environment. An easy way to identify it is if you look at the leaves, on the end of a leaf, there's a nice little tiny notch at the leaf. The leaves are also kind of rounded, and they're kind of thick, and they're kind of yellowish in color. This is the leaf of a white mangrove tree. Great tree, beautiful tree, one of our natives that we find along our coastal environment. This one just happens to also to be blooming, so we'll see the nice beautiful blooms on it coming up here in a few days. Now over here, right next to it, we have an exotic invasive plant. This is a bad plant. We want to call this one a very, very bad plant. This one's called Brazilian pepper. First brought into the state of Florida in about the 1850s, and it was brought in, like most plants and animals, it was brought in for the ornamental trade. Some of you may have heard of the term Florida holly. Some of you may have heard of the term Christmas tree plant. All of those are the same thing for Brazilian pepper. Obviously, Brazilian pepper came from South America, Brazil, Argentina, Paraguay, in that area. It has some interesting features that makes it an invasive plant. This is a very, very bad plant. If you have this on your property, if you live near the coast, even if you live in West Volusia, because it was planted an ornamental plant, you want to get rid of this plant. I hope this helped you to identify this plant. If you have this plant, want to get rid of it, please give us a call. For Solutions for Your Life, I am David Griffiths.
We'll head into the studio with Community Information Director Dave Byron and his guest, Mark Swanson of Volusia County Beach Patrol, for some safety tips before the Labor Day weekend.
Thanks, Amber, and hi, everyone. You know, the busy Labor Day weekend right around the corner, and that means thousands of people are going to flock to the beach for fun in the sun and what's the last big holiday weekend of the summer season. Volusia County's Beach Safety Ocean Rescue, they'll be out in full force, staffing the lifeguard towers and doing everything they can to keep beachgoers safe. If you're going to the beach, there are some common sense things you should do to keep you and your loved ones safe. Beach safety is our subject today. Our studio guest is Mark Swanson. He's the director of the Volusia County Beach Safety Ocean Rescue. Mark, how you doing?
Good, Dave. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for being with us.
Sure.
Like we do before every holiday, we like to just kind of talk about some safety things and so forth. You know, for us that live in Florida, we say that Labor Day is kind of like the last big summer weekend. For us, summer's most of the year.
Yes, it is. It's a special event every weekend.
But anyways, it is a 3-day holiday weekend. It is a busy weekend. What do you expect?
We expect good crowds, you know, weather permitting.
Right.
You know, with the storm off the coast, you know, who knows what's going to happen as far as the weather goes. But, you know, we're prepared. We're ready for record crowds, and we'll be in full force, ready to go.
I know you bring on a lot of your seasonal people as early in the summer as you can, certainly around Memorial Day, and work them as long as you can throughout the summer. And then a lot of those folks drop off to go back to school and so forth. What sort of staffing do you figure you'll have?
We've lost some of our seasonal employees to go back. We usually lose the ones that go back out of state or out of town, but the ones that are in high school are still here. They're still going to be working for us. We're anticipating probably middle 60s amount of towers on the beach all weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and we'll be ready to go.
You know, typically big crowds in the holiday weekends, but correct me if I'm wrong, but usually Labor Day crowds don't quite, you know, in numbers are as great as, let's say, like July 4th.
It's not like July 4th or Memorial Day weekend, but, you know, we always have to be ready and always have to anticipate those crowds. But, you know, Labor Day's a week later this year.
That's
so,
right.
That we don't know what type of impact that's going to have on. But like I said, we're going to be ready regardless.
And of course, it's too early to know what the wave action is going to be, but certainly there's no better piece of advice for anyone going to the beach than to tell people to swim in front of a lifeguard.
Absolutely.
That's key.
Absolutely. Swim in front of a lifeguard, swim in front of a manned lifeguard tower. And, you know, we got a big test this year in Memorial Day where we had all those rescues, and just goes to show, you know, what can happen in a moment's notice. So we're anticipating, the surf is going to be like it's been for the last few weeks, but, you know, that could change. So we have to be ready all the time. And
of course, you know, when you think of the ocean waters and any concern, the rip currents come to the forefront as an issue to be concerned about, or at least be aware of. People go to the beach, they can talk to any lifeguard about any rip current activity that may exist.
Absolutely. The lifeguards on the towers are beach ambassadors, or the lifeguards in the vehicles that are law enforcement officers as well. Feel free to stop and ask one of them. Go up to the lifeguard tower. There's a plethora of information on the back of the tower that gives you information on rip currents, and it also talks about the temperature of the water and the tides, and even gives the name of the lifeguard on the tower. So makes it a little bit more personal. So feel free to go to the lifeguard, ask any questions you want, and we'll be more than happy to answer them.
And they're experienced and trained to be able to spot rip currents where the person that is not familiar with the beach can't identify them the way your folks can.
That's correct. They are, and you know, it's part of their recruitment training when they come in, and we teach them to anticipate rip currents all the time, and when they see them, then there's several different ways they can do. They can either blow their whistle and wave them out of there, or they can, if somebody's having some problems in the water with their hands up waving to them, they can go in there and rescue and bring them out.
So Mark, if someone should be caught in a rip current, what advice do you have for people?
Number one is not to panic. Swim parallel to shore, and what it's doing is the current's trying to pull you out. It's not trying to pull you under.
Right.
So it's pulling you out, and if you swim parallel with the shore and you stay calm, and eventually the current will break.
And the one thing that you shouldn't do, and that is try to fight the current, because then you become exhausted and then you get in trouble.
Exactly. You know, we have to deal sometimes with the exhausted swimmer, and it's usually because they've tried to fight it, and they've tried to not, you know, to try to fight it rather than swim parallel and letting it break.
And one of the other things that you do in terms of public safety is you have a flag system out there that kind of gives folks a indication of what the activity is on the beach, whether it's rip currents or wildlife or whatever it might be. Tell us about the flag.
That's correct. You know, in a normal day, yellow flag means there's just a moderate risk of rip currents being out there. But if you see a red flag, then red flags throw up, you know, a caution that if you see that, then go up and ask what the red flag's for, or just know that we have some indication that there's some rip currents out there. In addition to that, you could see a red flag and a purple flag out there, and the red flag meaning hazardous conditions possible there, but The purple flag is for the marine life. There could
Sure.
be some jellyfish in the water, things like that you have to be concerned with.
Right.
But if you get stung with a jellyfish in the water, come to one of the towers, and the antidote for that is to spray some vinegar on it. And
Right.
it'll sting for a little bit, but the vinegar will eventually take the sting away.
A lot of folks like to come to the beach, Mark, and bring a picnic lunch and that sort of thing, their own beverages, but we got to remind people that alcoholic beverages on the beach are not allowed.
That's correct. We allow you to bring your food down here, come down, bring your cookout grill, bring your food down here, bring your sodas and your water, but leave your beer at home. Alcohol and the water doesn't mix. A lot of the times, some of the people that we have to rescue out of the water are as a result of alcohol as well.
Sure.
And the two together don't mix, and not only that, but it's a county ordinance violation, and that could get you a fine and other consequences.
And of course, Mark, no alcohol on the beach, and there are areas on the beach where people can drive on the beach and park. So certainly alcohol and driving are a bad combination. For people driving on the beach, Mark, they need to be extra careful.
They do. We designate a traffic lane every day, and at any point during the day when we recognize that it's unsafe to have a traffic lane, then obviously we're not going to let cars on the beach.
Right.
But while you're down on the beach and you're driving in that traffic lane, obviously look forward, always be cautious to people stepping in front of you, follow the 10 mile an hour speed limit, and we do enforce that speed on the beach. We have laser radar guns out there. We have some flashing speed signs that reminds people what the speed is. But it's just like driving on a state road
Right.
down there, and we have those regulations that we enforce, and just always be mindful that somebody could walk in front of you.
Lights on.
Lights on,
windows down,
and no texting while driving.
Why the windows down, Mark? Explain that for people that don't understand.
If you have, you want to be able to hear what's going on as well. If you got your windows up, and if your windows are tinted, not only is the tinting windows prohibiting your field of sight and vision, but also you can't hear if there's a siren behind you, if you can't hear somebody yelling at you. So.
Right.
Yes, we want at least one window down, preferably both front windows.
And when you get to the beach, we advise people to just find a parking space, and you folks will sort of direct people. You have a way to park those cars on the
Absolutely.
beach?
When you come down the ramp, we use what they call event-style parking.
Right.
And when you come down there, we kind of discourage cruising on the beach. So we want to get you down there. We want to get you in a parking space. Parking's a premium on the holiday weekends, so we want to get people as close together as we can so that we can have as many parking spaces available for everybody. Don't set up your equipment between vehicles. That's prohibited on the beach, and we're going to enforce that as well. So get out of your car, set up either in the front of your vehicle or behind your vehicle, but leave those spots in between the vehicles open for other people to park.
And probably the best thing to do, especially if you have children, is to be on the ocean side of the driving lane so you don't have to go back and forth.
Absolutely. Anytime you can set out by water's edge, you're better off, because then you'll have your kids crossing the traffic
Right.
lane.
And speaking of kids crossing out there, Mark, for parents out there, particularly those parents with the little ones, I mean, they really need to squeeze those kids' hands because they can slip away, and
Yes,
we
they
know
can.
how unpredictable kids can be.
We're down there, we're putting suntan oil on our hands, we're in and out of the water, our hands get slippery, our children's hands get slippery. Always be mindful of that. But when you're walking adjacent or parallel to the traffic lane, always be mindful that the kid could dart away from you, or just be mindful that there is cars down there driving legally, and 10 miles an hour is the speed limit, but 10 miles an hour can still do some damage to somebody if they walk out in front of the vehicle. So just when you're walking there and you're walking with the children, just hold their hand very tightly.
And speaking of kids, you've got a service out there for the public where coming through the toll booth, you can get a bracelet. It's called a rescue bracelet.
That's great. It's called Rescue. It's a program that was established by one of our officers down there, and she pitched it to me, and we decided to adopt it. But it's called Rescue Bracelets. It's an acronym for reuniting everyone safely and quickly. And they're yellow, very bright colored bracelets that are provided to anyone down there at no cost. You can ask a toll booth attendant when you come down on the beach where you can obtain those. You can either get them from a lifeguard, from a law enforcement officer, or just walk up to one of the lifeguard towers and say, I'd like to obtain one of those bracelets. So what we do is we write the guardian's cell phone number on the bracelet, and that way if they become detached from their parents, or if it's an elderly adult that has some dementia or something, we can use them for those as well. But what it does is it allows us to reunite the groups back together again. And it's very stressful for a family member when they lose a child or lose an adult. down there, but it's equally stressful for us when we're trying to get them back reunited again.
And actually, people that get lost or separated from their families, and that happens a lot.
It does, and you know, we took it to a different level this year, where we had some hotels were graciously enough to come on with the program, so we took it to the next level, and we distribute them to the hotels. So now when the families check in with their children, all the attendant at the desk has to say is how many children you have with you, and they can issue those bracelets at that time. The family members can put them on their children. They can remain on the children all weekend long. They're able to be in the water. They'll hold up in the water, and that way, if your children get lost on the hotel property, then it will benefit there as well.
Great, great, great service, no doubt about it. Just want to remind everyone, Mark, that particularly if you have kids, there's plenty of places on the beach where vehicles are not allowed. You've got a lot of good off-beach parking and so forth.
Right. There's 47 miles of beach, and 17 of them are drivable. So that leaves all the remaining parts of the beach that don't have cars. And if cars driving on the beach is an issue for you and a concern for you, then by all means choose one of the other locations that doesn't allow vehicles.
A lot of times this time of year, especially, Mark, in the afternoon, the clouds can build up, and you can get those thunderstorm activities, lightning and so forth. If that occurs, people just need to get in their vehicles and get off the beach.
Absolutely. Take cover. You know, anytime we have an approaching storm, we've actually added a couple new things to the beach towers this year. As in Daytona and Ponce Inlet, we've added some lightning detection systems, and it can detect that lightning as far as 6 miles out. And in those instances where we see the storm coming in, there's a potential for lightning there, then obviously we're gonna be on our PA systems, and we're gonna be down there telling people to cease water activities and get out of the water and to seek shelter. So if you're down there and you see the storm start to roll in, start thinking about packing up your stuff and either heading to your vehicle or heading home.
All right, so I'm going to the beach on Labor Day weekend, and I want some information. How do I get information?
A couple different ways. You can go on volusia.org under beaches, and it's all kinds of information. You can also use our beach app, that you can download that app wherever you get your apps normally, and it's free of charge, and it can go onto your cell phone, and you can see the ramp closures if there are any, and you can see the temperature of the water and where the tide is and what ramps are open and which ones are not, and just a whole bunch of information that you can get through your smartphone. Thanks
for sharing the information with us. I know you and the men and women of Volusia County Beach Safety Ocean Rescue are going to have a great Labor Day weekend, and let's have fun at the beach.
Absolutely. We want people to come down, have a good time, and come back again.
Our guest today, Mark Swanson, Director of the county's Beach Safety Ocean Rescue. With that, Amber, we'll go back to you.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you for watching Volusia Magazine. If you have any questions about the show, you can always feel free to give us a call at any of the numbers you see listed here, or you can log on to volusia.org and click on the News tab at the top of the screen to find us. Incidentally, you can find the County Council's meeting calendar there too. In fact, you can use volusia.org to find out about meeting dates, workshops, topics of interest, activities, and how you can become involved. And we hope you won't forget to listen to Volusia Today. That's Volusia County Government's weekly public radio broadcast. Volusia Today airs every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Sunday mornings on the local radio stations you see on your screen. For Volusia Magazine, I'm Amber Osman. Have a wonderful evening.